Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Dreaming of blissful summer days and creamy popsicles? Capture sun-drenched memories with the Orange Vanilla Dream Hydration Multiplier from Liquid IV. Just 1 stick and 16 ounces of water can help hydrate you better than water alone. Live your summer dream with Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code INDULGE20 at checkout.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got a great podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, William Boor, does such great work over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he's dialed into a little bit of everything. We'll talk about what we might be seeing at the trade deadline. We're going to be talking about some teams that he's feeling bullish/bearish on, and then we're going to be touching upon these games that we've got on this Sunday in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but everything is indeed presented by Edge Boost. Over at Edge Boost, they're making sure that bettors are able to have access to the funds that they so rightfully deserve 24/7, 365 on leap years, 366 days out of the year. When you go to edgeboost.bet, make sure you put in that promo code of Greg, GREG. That's going to get you a $1 for $1 match on your first deposit up to $25, and you earn cashback rewards as you utilize Edge Boost. So big thanks to them for all their help, and a big thanks to all these teams for always putting on a show out there in Major League Baseball. Let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Saturday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Your top under team in all of baseball is the Texas Rangers, but they are now tied with the Kansas City Royals as the Royals played yet another under on Saturday. They lose to the Miami Marlins by a count of 3-1, and for Kansas City, they're just generating no offense whatsoever at this point. For the Royals, you did have a Salvador Perez solo home run off of Ronnie Enriquez, 14th home run of the season, lone run of the game as Cal Quantrill, 6 scoreless innings with 2 hits. Tyler Phillips, Anthony Bender both supply a scoreless inning. Enriquez, he gives up a home run in his inning of work, and for the Royals, Michael Wacha was fine. He gave up 1 run in 6 innings. John Schreiber, scoreless innings. Lucas Ursich, he does give it up, giving up 2 runs in his inning work, but gave up 3 runs and the team was unable to get the job done. The Texas Rangers, they also played an under to keep pace with that top under rate. 4-1 the final. And by the way, you're going to be hearing the podcast breakdown of Jacob Latz versus Streak Skubal. I just had to redo that on the fly because it was supposed to be Nathan Eovaldi for Sunday Night Baseball. So if you bet this overnight, your eyes do not deceive you if you see Jacob Latz as a starter. But Kadir Montero was Montero Bull. 4 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. He does give up a home run going deep for Texas. You had the newly picked up Rowdy Tellez give up his 12th home run of the campaign. From there, Brennan Hennefy, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Brandon Herter, 2 scoreless innings. Carlos Hernandez, a scoreless inning. And for Texas, Coomer Rocker, pretty good length here. 6 1/3 innings, gives gives up 1 hit, no runs. Hobie Milner from there, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Jacob Webb, he does give up a solo home run to Riley Green, 25th home run in the campaign, lone run that he gives up over the course of 2 innings. The Cincinnati Reds are starting to get things going. They were on to a 5-2 win over the New York Mets, as for Cincinnati, you had Nick Martinez give up 2 runs in 5 innings, including a home run, as it was home run number 10 for Brett Beatty. For Clay Holmes, he just did not have it in this one. 5 runs, 4 of which weren't. Give it up in 5 1/3 innings. Bullpen was fine. Brooks Raley, Ryan Stanton, Chris Savinsky, all into scoreless inning, and Reed Garrett. Pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, but the Reds bullpen was able to piecemeal things together. Tony Santillan, Graham Ashcraft, Emilio Pagan, all into scoreless inning, and Scott Barlow and Taylor Rogers combined for a scoreless inning. The Giants got things started with a loss, 6-3. They fall to the Blue Jays. Logan Webb always has some pretty demonstrative home runs, but it's 4 runs allowed in 6 innings. You had Ryan Walker give up 2 runs in an inning, as well as going deep for the Blue Jays off of him. It was home run number 3 of the campaign for the backup catcher, Tyler Heineman, and you did get a scoreless inning out of Randy Rodriguez. William Thomas is starting to heat up. 2 home runs in this game, 1 off of Eric Lauer, his 13th home run in the campaign, and then Chad Green for his 14th. Lauer gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. Green gives up a home run in his inning work, but you had Brandon Little and Jeff Hoffman both be able to give you a scoreless inning. And then if you're looking at your top over team in all of baseball, that would actually be the Seattle Mariners. Now, do have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern, so I'm doing this as the game is still raging on. We are currently in the 8th inning as I am recording this, and for the Seattle Mariners, they are currently trailing by a count of 5-4, as for Seattle, they were looking to young Logan Evans for the start in this one, and Evans gave up 2 runs, but he only went 4 innings. From there, Carlos Vargas really gave it up 3 runs in 1 1/3 innings. Gabe Spire, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Casey Lugumina, Trent Thornton have both lent a scoreless inning, and for Houston, you had Lance McCullers Jr. only last 2 2/3 innings, giving up 4 runs, but since then the bullpen has been flawless. Ryan Gusto, Bennett Sosa, Brian King all lent a scoreless inning. Stephen Okert 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and now Brian Tabreu looking to hold down the fort and get the job done there. Also being able to get the job done, the Philadelphia Phillies, 9-5. They take down the LA Angels, and by the way, with that over for the Seattle Mariners, since that is very much known that this game is over the total for the Mariners, they're hitting at a little bit north of 57.5% to the over, 54 overs, 39 unders, and 5 pushes as far this season. And for the Angels, 52 overs, 43 unders, and 3 pushes. They've been rock solid there. 9-5, they fall to the Philadelphia Phillies. Yusei Kikuchi, I say a solid start, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, and then the bullpen does what the bullpen does. Sam Bachman gives up 3 runs in a third of an inning. Jose Fermin, 2 runs given up in a third of an inning, including a home run to Kyle Schwarber, 32nd home run of the season. We have a Carson Fulmer sighting, and he gave up a home run to Bryce Harper, 13th home run of the season. Pretty much how you'd expect a Carson Fulmer sighting to go. 2 runs allowed in an inning. Now it's a 7-11 ERA. Always open to giving up runs. Connor Brogdon, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and did have a trio of bombs for the Angels. Joe Adell sets fire to the rain off of Taijuan Walker, 21st home run of the season. Walker gives one up to Taylor Ward, 23rd home run of the season, and Yohan Moncada, he gets home run number 8 of the season, as that Moncada home run comes off of Seth Johnson, who gives up that home run in his inning of work. Ryan Kirkering gives up a run in an inning, but Tanner Banks, David Robert, along with Matt Strom, all lend a scoreless inning, and Walker gives up 3 runs in 4 innings, including a pair of home runs. So had a lot of offense out there in Colorado as the Rockies back-to-back wins over the Twins, 10-6 final, and Twins should likely be selling at the trade deadline. As Zevi Matthews, he gives up 5 runs over the course of 4 innings, including a home run to Ryan McMahon, 15th home run season. Then Hunter Goodman, 18th home run season off of Anthony Machevich. Ezekiel Tovar, he goes deep off of Brock and Roll Stewart. His 4th home run campaign for Machevich gives up 2 runs in his inning work. Justin Topa gives up 2 runs in an inning. Brock and Roll Stewart, solo home run, give it up in his inning, and Danny Kalum, he goes for a scoreless inning. Meanwhile, for the Colorado Rockies, Antonio Senzatella, 6 hits allowed in 7 innings, which actually for his standards is good, giving up 3 runs. Yeah, Tyler Kinley give up a pair of outs out of the bullpen without giving up a run, so he gave up nothing. Zach Ognos, a inning of work, he gives up a run, and Juan Mejia, he did give up 2 runs in his third of an inning, but enough for the Colorado Rockies to get the job done. The LA Dodgers picking up right where they left off going into the All-Star break, back-to-back losses. 8-7, the Brewers get the job done as Freddie Peralta, not necessarily sharp in this one, 4 runs allowed in 5 innings, and is taken deep by Mr. Shohei Ohtani, 33rd home run of the campaign, and then Jared Koenig gives up a pair of bombs to Miguel Rojas, 6th home run season. Tommy Edman, his 11th, as Koenig gives up 2 runs in his inning of work. Aaron Ashby, 1 1/3 innings, allows a run. Nick Mirzo, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Trevor McGill, a scoreless 9th inning to be able to get the save. And for the Brewer Crew, a pair of home runs. Isaac Collins, 6th home run season off of Emmett Sheehan, and then Lou Trevino gives it up to Jory Ortiz, 7th home run season. Sheehan was not long for this game. 5 runs allowed in 3 innings. Jack Dreyer, 2 scoreless innings. Lou Trevino gives up a home run in his inning of work. Ben Casparis, 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. Anthony Band, a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and then Tanner Scott was able to supply a scoreless inning. The Cardinals are your number 2 over team in all of baseball. 53 overs, 41 unders, and 5 pushes, and they give up all the runs for an over. 10-1 to the final. It's Sonny Gray. He just has not been good on the road this year. 9 runs, 8 of which were earned, given up in 3 1/3 innings, including a pair of home runs to Eugenio Suarez. 32nd and 33rd home runs of the campaign. John King was the king of giving up an unearned run in his inning work, but how about 3 2/3 innings scoreless out of Gordon Garcifo? And for the Cardinals, lone form of offense off of Ryan Nelson was Alec Burleson getting his 12th home run season. Nelson gives up that home run in 6 innings of work. Jake Woodford, former Cardinal, 2 2/3 innings scoreless. Kyle Backus, he gets the final out to be able to polish that one up. The Carbs have been a high-scoring team all season long, and they did all the scoring in this one. 6-0, they shut out the Boston Red Sox. Ryan Baio gives up 3 runs in 6 innings of work, including a pair of home runs going deep off of him. It was home run number 18 of the campaign for Kyle Tucker, and Michael Busch, his 20th home run season. Then Pete Armstrong get his 26th home run of the season, Matt Shaw his 3rd home run season, and Ian Happ his 13th home run season, as all 3 come off of Chris Murphy. He gives up 3 home runs in his 2 innings of work, and for the Cubs, Shota Imanaga, pretty flawless. 7 scoreless innings. Brad Keller, Ryan Brazier both able to end a scoreless inning, and the Cleveland Guardians offense has been very suspect this year, and they fall to the Athletics by a count of 8-2. Luis Severino has been much better on the road than at home. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Does give up a home run to Jose Ramirez, 9th home run of the campaign. And for Logan Allen, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad. 3 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Matt Festa, a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, but Nick Henry gives up a pair of runs in 1 1/3 innings, and Kobe Allard 3 runs given up in 1 2/3 innings, as between the 2 of them, they gave up 3 homers. Jacob Olson, 10th home run season, Nick Kurtz, 18th home run season, and Shea Langoliers, Shea Banks is 14th home run season, and then you would have Jack Perkins coming in long relief. 3 scoreless innings for the A's, and Justin Sterner, he holds down the 4th for a scoreless inning of his own. For the Atlanta Braves, they manage to blow another 5-run lead. They're up by a count of 7-2 over the Yankees going into the 6th inning, and they lose 12-9. Will Warren was not long for this game. 5 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings, including a pair of home runs. Albies, Albies, 9th home run season. Then you had Michael Harris, who's had a miserable season, 7th home run season. Joey Wentz, 4 scoreless innings, and then Wander Isuero, this guy sucks. Well, he gives up 2 runs in an egg, living up to the name of Wander Isuero, this guy sucks. Anthony Volpe got a home run off of him, 11th home run season. Then Dylan Lee gives one up to Volpe as well, home run number 12 of the season there. Pierce Johnson gives one up to Cody Bellinger, 17th home run season, and then Rossi Iglesias doing what he does best, giving up bombs to Trent Grisham, 17th home run season. Iglesias, 4 runs allowed in his inning work. Johnson gives up a solo home run in his inning. Lee a solo home run in his inning of work. And then Año de los Santos, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, did not get a single out. And Rafael Montero, he was able to give you a scoreless inning. And for the Yankees, bullpen wasn't too bad here. He had some scattered runs. Devin Williams gives up a run in an inning. Jonathan Loaiza got a run, give it up in 1 1/3 inning. Scott Effross gives up a run in 1/3 of an inning. Tim Hill gives up a run in an inning. But Luke Weaver, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. And that was enough for the Yankees to get the job done. The Braves now 11 games below 500, and the Orioles also well below 500. They lose to the Rays by a count of 4-3, actually. Orioles are also 11 games below 500, as Dean Grammer, good start, 1 run allowed in 7 innings, and then Sir Anthony Dominguez lights this game on fire. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 1/3 of an inning. Gregory Soto, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, but for the Rays, you had the bullpen bailout Zach Littell, who had a good start. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings, but he was in line to perhaps take an L from there. Edwin Uceta, 2 scoreless innings. Pete Fairbanks allows a run in an inning, but gets the job done there. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's been a rough go of it for them on offense, and it's apparently a rough go of it for them at the mound as well. 10-4, they fall to the Chicago White Sox. Adrian Don't Call Him Doogie Howser finally had some regression. 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 4 1/3 innings, but bullpen from there was good. Brandon Eisert, Steven Wilson, Jordan Leisure, Wolfman Gonzalez, all end a scoreless inning, and Tyler Gilbert, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. And for the White Sox, they go 7 of 13 with men in scoring position. No home runs, but death by a million cuts. Mike Burrows was fine. 2 runs allowed in 5 innings, and then Isaac Madsen gives up 2 runs in the 3rd of an inning. Caleb Ferguson, 4 runs allowed in 1/3 of an inning. And Carmen Blodzinski, 3 1/3 innings. He gives up 2 runs. And for the Slam Diego Padres, well, they get slammed by the Washington Nationals. It's by a count of 4-2, as for Washington, they did a nice job of getting to Yu Darvish, giving up 3 runs in 5 innings. Yuki Matsui gives up a home run in 1 2/3 innings, as that was Nathaniel Lowe getting low for his 15th home run season. And Mitchell Parker evades danger, 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. From there, Luis Garcia, Jose Ferrer, Kyle Finnegan, all end a scoreless inning. And for the Padres, you also had Wandy Peralta, David Morgan, give you a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. And if you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, has been quite a bit of an underwhelming season thus far, but if you look at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, we have been pretty much 50-50 in terms of overs and unders. 23 overs, 21 unders, and I believe a push along the way with favorites. If the Astros are able to get the job done, they're currently tied 5-5 going into the ninth inning. They are going to be 21-23. For our favorites, if the Seattle Mariners get the job done, 22-22 in this time span. Meanwhile, if you're looking overall for the season, favorites are hitting at 57.6%, 842 and 619 on the money line. The over hitting at about 47.7%, 678 overs to 743 unders. That's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we all got on Saturday. Now let's talk about Sunday's games with William Boor of Action Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got William Boor aboard. He does such a great job over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he is very hard at work, taking a look at what we're going to be getting the second half of the season, and initially over there at Action Network, covering a little bit of everything, as that thing called football is going to be in our lives sooner rather than later, so he's hard at work on that front as well. And you're able to follow William on Twitter/X at the letter W and his last name Boor, Boor. And William, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on, talk baseball, talk betting in general. Like you said, football's right around the corner, but today we're talking about baseball.
Yes, sir, we are. And just in terms of the second half of the year, how do you take a look at things as compared to the first half? Because I think that this is where the cream rises to the top. And 2 weeks from now, a lot of these teams that we are seeing right now are going to look nothing like what they do right now.
Yeah, but these are a very important 2 weeks to figure out which teams buy, which teams sell. 20 of 30 teams in the league are within 5 games of a playoff spot or in the playoffs. So that means 20 of 30 teams in theory could be buyers. We both know it's not going to work out that way. Some are going to get cold over the next couple weeks. Some teams are going to get hot. It'll differentiate itself a little bit, but it's kind of hard to make big buyer-seller predictions right now because there is just such a cluster of teams in the middle. Everyone's really bunched up, which makes the next 2 weeks exciting and makes the next couple months exciting.
Yep, it is going to be a lot of fun to see what we all get here. And the games on Sunday, they are going to be very critical. And dare I say, the LA Dodgers have been a team that has been a little bit on the fritz as well. We don't know how the game for Saturday went, but you saw Quinn Priester look like Nolan Ryan on Friday. And for the LA Dodgers, they're going to be sending Clayton Kershaw against Jose Quintana. Right now, I'm seeing a total of 9, and I'm not sure how you take a look at this game, but I have confidence that the Dodgers are going to be able to bounce back on offense. I don't have a lot of confidence in Kershaw, though, and I think Jose Quintana has been very overdue for regression for the Brewers, too.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kershaw, great career, one of the best pitchers of all time. The 2025 version of Clayton Kershaw is different. It just happens to everyone. I don't have a ton of faith in him. Like you said, Quintana, kind of regression. The Dodgers thing, unless they get someone at the deadline, like we've had questions about their pitching all year, was the big thing going into it. The whole issue was just going to be like, hey, can they outslug everyone? And they've got a loaded offense. They have scored a ton of runs. That part is held up. So like a total of 9, is it a big number? Yes. Can the Dodgers, get 6 or 7 on their own? Sure. I think they're just going to keep hitting. You'd imagine that they're going to look for arms at the deadline. But as of now, this version for Sunday, like you just got to count on if you're going to back the Dodgers, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, any day over the next 2 weeks, you're backing their offense is what you're doing.
Yep, you certainly are with this LA Dodgers team. It's been one that has been great on offense, but even that bullpen too, especially with Michael Kopech going back on the injured list, that's been a little bit of an issue for them. And then this is more of a general question. How do you take a look at a Brewers team that if the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs, but I still have a lot of question marks with an offense that entered in this series number 1 in the league in terms of runs per game away from home. I just don't think that that's quite sustainable.
Almost want to drop down to a lower seed so you get a road game. It's interesting because they're a good team. And they're only 1 game back of the Dodgers, 1 game back of the Cubs. They're a couple games up on the Phillies and the Mets, but I just don't view them the same way. Maybe that's just my fault and I need to accept reality here. Maybe there's just an inherent bias, but you're right. I do have kind of questions about that team. 8-game winning streak pending today's game is obviously very impressive. They've been coming on late. I think Mizrahi, say what you want about him being an all-star or whatever, but the way he came on at the end of that first half there, if he keeps that up to the second half, that's obviously a very dangerous arm that no one's going to want to face in October.
Yep, no question about it. And if the Brewers can get into the playoffs, especially with Brandon Woodruff now healthy as well, that's going to be massive for them, as William Boor does such great work over at Action Network, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And then I think that this one is a fun one. Talk about a great pitching matchup between the Rangers and the Detroit Tigers. Nathan Eovaldi, because he was on the injured list, not right now getting any Cy Young love, but he has been amazing when he has been on the mound. Drake Skubal, right now the odds-on favorite to win the American League Cy Young. That is a total of 7 right now, shaded very much down to the under, right around -150, -155 is that number of the Tigers. How do you take a look at this sort of a game and just a really good pitching matchup in general?
Love that this game is Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN and that it just gets a standalone spot. I think it would have been easy for MLB ESPN to go with, the brands and done something with like Red Sox Cubs or something like that. But I think having Tigers Rangers is really cool. This is an elite pitching matchup. I get why the number is at 7 with these pitchers. 7 is just such a low number that it scares me. Probably bet the no-run first inning, get in, get out, and then just sit there and enjoy what should be 2 really good pitchers going at it and just watch a good game.
Absolutely. I think that this is going to be fun. And if we can get that total of 7, a little bit more like a -115, -120 juice, I'm going to be willing to invest in that under as well. And then I think that this is interesting. For some reason, the Yankees threw a bullpen game on Friday. On Saturday, they threw out their Will Warren, and now they're going with Marcus Stroman on Sunday. They had 4 days of rest, and they're not throwing any of their top-flight pitchers. Right now, Marcus Stroman is about a +110 underdog. How do you take a look at both this and the Yankees in general, as I found their strategy coming out of the break to be very interesting?
Well, I think it probably has to do with playing the Braves now and then playing Toronto Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and wanting to line up for the division games. So on that front, I get it, but it is still weird that the way they approach it versus the way like every other team approaches it every other year. Yankees are interesting. They're a team that I would probably be high on, just knowing that they're probably going to be aggressive. I think they've underwhelmed a little bit this year, which is kind of weird to say about a team that's like 9 games over 500 and in really good shape overall. But I think if you get a little bit better pitching performance from people, Judge is obviously having a great year and they're going to be aggressive. So I think when you look at the Yankees on a day-to-day basis is one thing, but if we're projecting the Yankees, for August and September, that team's probably going to be a little bit better than the team we're going to see on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very strange to see what we got there. I understand that they want to load up for the Blue Jays series, but you also just got 4 days of rest as well. So, yeah, very, very fascinating sort of scenario there. And this is going to be a critical game because a lot of people are talking about whether or not the Arizona Diamondbacks buy or sell at the deadline. These next we're going to call it about 7 to 8 games are going to be deciding that. And if the Arizona Diamondbacks want to be buyers at the deadline, they probably need to get the job done in this one. Merrill Kelly is going against Miles Michaelis. Right now for the Diamondbacks, they're about minus 140, minus 145 favorites. How do you take a look at both this game and the Diamondbacks moving forward, as they might be the biggest team of intrigue here in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, Diamondbacks are interesting. I was actually at the game the other night. I like the Diamondbacks in this spot, mainly because I believe in Merrill Kelly. I really do like Merrill Kelly as a pitcher, but I'm not sure what they're going to do. They're in a really weird spot. If they sell, I don't think it would be drastic. I don't think they're going to sell a ton of players. I also don't think they're going to be buyers. It just seems weird unless they win 9 straight here before the deadline. I would kind of expect them to kind of stand pat and just ride this season out and say, hey, maybe we sneak in, but maybe we don't. If we don't, we had a lot of injuries and it is what it is. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, we'll see how he performs here. I think those are the names that are like most likely to move. Probably not both, just because I think that would be a lot, but I wouldn't be shocked if they dealt one of them.
Yeah, I would not be surprised either. And for Zach Gallen, might be getting pennies on the dollar with how rough this season has been. And I'm almost thinking that perhaps all the workload that he had in 2023 has started to take a little bit of a toll on him right now. And then when I take a look at this game, this is a fascinating one because for the Mets, it's been a little bit teeter-totterish for them over the last few weeks. And for the Reds, they could really use a few wins going into the trade deadline period to feel good about buying. And they've got one of their studs, Andrew Abbott, on the mound going against David Peterson. Great name for the Mets. And right now that total is about 8, and the Mets about a minus 150 or so favorite. How do you take a look at this one with a Reds team that I feel like it's being a little bit undervalued with how great Abbott has been this season?
Reds definitely been undervalued here and probably a lot of times throughout the year. This team's better than most people are giving it credit for. Heck of a job by Francona. And you're right, looking at this spot on Sunday in general, like Abbott's been really good this year. The Mets got off to that crazy start and then have been not bad, but just kind of slightly above average since. And they're kind of buoyed by that really fast start at the beginning of the year. They're still obviously in a good spot. Postseason started today. They'd be in the playoffs. Like, they're fine. They're another team similar to the Yankees that you know is going to be aggressive at the deadline. They're going to go buy. So big picture, I'm not worried about the Mets. But they kind of slumped into the break. They blew a lead last night. But like, there's questions there. They shouldn't be expected to like roll over the Reds or anything like that.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that with the Mets, they deserve to be a favorite and even like a mid-sized favorite. But right there with you, that's a little bit too high of a price, as we have William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And is there anything else on the card that you're taking a look at for this Sunday? Because we've got all 30 teams in action. We've got some good games that are going to be going down in general. Anything else that is really triggering a bet for you?
I'm looking at a couple things over the next week or so. The Guardians, 4.5 back of the wild card, have won 7 of 10 pending, Saturday's game. They've got a super easy schedule out of the break. So if they're going to make a move before the trade deadline to kind of creep back into that wild card race, now's the time. Kind of the same goes for the Minnesota Twins playing the Rockies. Like, you need to win these games this weekend. And then the other games, I'm not sure how or if I'm going to bet them, but I definitely have my eye on the Giants tomorrow against the Blue Jays. That NL West race, that NL wildcard race are both tight. The Giants have Robbie Ray going. They're probably going to be dogs, which is fine against the Blue Jays on the road, but you've got to capitalize on the Brandon Webb, Robbie Ray games if you're going to get back in the race. And I kind of feel the same way about the Red Sox with Garrett Crochet starting, is that if you're going to make a push to the playoffs, like, you need to win like 98% of his starts going forward.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And for Garrett Crochet, it's a little bit TBD as what we're going to be getting on the Cubs on the flip side, but for the Boston Red Sox, they've been able to build some upward momentum. They need to continue to build that upward momentum, and we always do so. When you're aboard, William, you do such a great job gauging this great game that we all know and love of baseball. So let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, of course, Greg. You can find me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at WBoor, WBOOR. If you just want the picks, I'm in the Action Network app at _. Be sure to check me out there, but also check out actionnetwork.com for all the great work that my colleagues are doing. We've got betting advice, betting articles for pretty much every MLB game every day. We're going to have WNBA stuff after the All-Star break ends and WNBA resumes on Monday. And then, as you teased at the top of this, we're going to have a ton of football stuff. Hall of Fame game is this month. Then we'll have a whole bunch of preseason content, NFL futures, college football futures, everything you want. So it's about to be a busy time, but it's about to be a fun time for sports fans as well.
So well said. A busy time, but a fun time, and we always have fun with Williams aboard. So big thanks to William for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. They give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. Taking a look at this great game of baseball that we all know and love. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So a big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we're going with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we get things started with 9:51 at 52 on the card? The San Diego Padres are on the road facing off against the Washington Nationals. Mackenzie Gore is on the bump for the Nats. Nick Pivetta is on the bump for the Pods, and the Pods do find themselves between -110 to -115 favorites, and between even money to -105 is that number on Washington. It is a total over and under, both at -110. Did make my total in 8.1. I'm going to be looking at the over. Now, for both the starting pitcher Nick Pivetta and the Washington Nationals, they've got some pretty wild home and road splits. As for the Washington Nationals, they're a bona fide team in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis at home. And that is reflected by the fact that they are averaging a little bit less than 4 runs per game at home, right around about 4.7 runs per game when they're away from home. So, I mean, that has been relatively wild. And then with regards to Nick Pivetta, he has been very dominant in San Diego this year. 2.07 ERA. He's allowing less than 0.75 home runs per 9 innings at home. On the road, this goes up to about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings at a 4.09 ERA. So that has been wild to say the least. And for Mackenzie Gore, he's been pretty rock solid this year with regards to his strikeout numbers, and it's not like he's giving up a ton of walks or anything like that. So he's been able to do a nice job of being able to save, relatively efficient with his pitch count, 3.02 ERA, just 4.8 record to show for it, but 291 fielding dependent, 1.3 strikeouts and 2.9 walks per 9 innings, and he needs to be efficient with his pitches because he's backed up by a Washington Nationals team that is dead last in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. Just so many guys like Zach Brzezicki, Eduardo Salazar, Jackson Rutledge posting up north of 5 ERA. Kyle Finnegan is out pooping the bed for this team. Like, they had Brad Lord back in the bullpen, but it looks like they're going to need him to start again. So it's been not great to say the least. There for the Washington Nationals, just for some reason, this team is unable to generate hard contact when they're at home, as James Wood has been able to give you good wood, 24 home runs thus far this season, double-figure amount of bombs at home. Nathaniel Lowe is the only other player that has north of 3 home runs at home thus far this season. CJ Abrams, 13 home runs, 10 of those have come on the road. Now, you do have plenty of guys that are moved line. Like Abrams is sitting at 287, Alex Call about at 375 on base, Ahmed Rosario is sitting at 275, James Wood 380 on base, but still, that's a little bit of an issue. And for the San Diego Padres, this has been a relatively pedestrian lineup thus far this season, as you've got a trio of guys, Manny Machado, Gavin Sheets, along with Fernando Tatis Jr., all 14 plus home runs, allowing at least a 263 in the case of Machado and Mr. Tatis Jr., both have been able to give you at least a 345 on base, but when you take a look at the rest of the guys out there, it's just been a little bit of a mismatch. Like Jake Cronenworth has a 357 on base, but is only at 243 with 8 home runs. Xander Bogaerts is starting to move line, get on base, 345 on base. You like to see that, but Luis Rise, 282 average, is honestly a little bit down from catcher spot. Has been all sorts of brutal, and then in the outfield, they were relying upon Jason Hayward. They had to DFA him, so now they're looking at the likes of Brandon Lockridge and company, and the DH spot has been a bit of an issue as well. So makes things very interesting, but with the Padres, you do have a top 6 team with regards to bullpen ERA. Even though Robert Suarez has been a little bit, shall we say, shaky recently, you do have some of these guys stepping up like a Jeremiah Estrada, Adrian Morejon, Jason Adam, David Morgan. I'll give you a sub 295 ERA. So did set the Pods at a minus 122. I do like them on the money line, and like this little over set might sell it at 8.1. 953, 954 on the card, the Reds, and yes, we are on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road facing off against the New York Mets. Andrew Abbott goes for the Redlegs, and David Peterson, great name, is on the bump for the Mets, and the Mets who find themselves anywhere between minus 150 to minus 160 favorites, plus 128 to a plus 140 is that number on the Reds. The last game is 8.5, unders minus 120, and the over is even. Did set my money line at a plus 140. Plus 140 exactly is my minimum buy point on the Reds money line, but I'm going to be one to roll with it. David Peterson has been quite solid this season, not necessarily getting a ton of swings and misses. We've noticed this over the last 2 seasons. Peterson has been able to rein it in, especially with regards to command. Still would like to see the 3.1 walks per 9 innings go down a little bit, but that's a career low for him. 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 306 ERA, 337 fielding dependence, so he's been able to do a nice job of being able to keep things out in line there, though he has now given up 3+ runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts, although all those starts came on the road. He has been much better in New York this far this season, but on the flip side, got a guy in Abbott who I think that there's going to be a little bit of regression with Andrew Abbott and his 207 ERA, but I mean, this guy has been tremendous. 351 fielding independent, but 8.2 strikeouts at 2.4 walks per 9 innings, allowing 1 home run per 9 innings, and he has given up 0 or 1 runs, and I believe now all but 4 of his starts this far this season out of the 16 in total. He is backed up by a bullpen that has been a little bit up, down, all around, but for the New York Mets, this team has fallen off with their bullpen as well. They're now in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA, mainly because you just have a lot of injuries for these guys like Max Kranick, Jose Buto, 2 relatively solid long guys. They're now both on the injured list. Oscar Barzobin has seen his ERA balloon up to about a 4. Ryan Stanek is just all sorts of unreliable, to say the least, and for the New York Mets, it's a very top-heavy lineup with this bunch, as you've got a quartet of guys with at least 18 home runs: Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, and also Pete Alonso north of a 370 on base, and all 4 of these guys are hitting at least a 256, but we've noticed ever since Lindor got that lower body injury, hasn't necessarily been the same. And then you've got at the bottom of the fold, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Tyrone Taylor, the entire catcher spot, all hitting at 230 or lower, all with not necessarily a ton of power, so that's been a little bit of an issue. And for the Cincinnati Reds, getting back Austin the Say's kid should be able to give this team a little bit more pop with regards to their lineup, as he's got 10 home runs and 180 at-bats, hitting north of 290. TJ Friedel has been able to do a nice job moving line. He and Gavin Lux north of 355 on base, but it's all about Ellie De La Cruz, 25 stolen bases, 360 on base, 18 home runs. He has been tremendous, while guys like Christian Encarnacion Strand, when he's been out there, Jake Fraley, as he's dealt with injuries, these guys have been inconsistent, but getting back Neovaldi Marte should be able to help out as well. So I look at this spot for the Cincinnati Reds, even though you do have some guys that give up the deep ball. Looking at you, Emilio Pagan, sub 3 ERA, but man, that guy gives up a lot of home runs. Taylor Rogers, Tony Santillan, Brent Suter, guys like this, posting up a sub 320 ERA. I do think that the Reds find a way to be able to get the job done here. I did set the total at an 8.4, so we're going to be going with the Reds on the money line, and here at an 8.5, I'm in on the under. 955, 956 on the card. The St. Louis Cardinals are on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Merrill Kelly goes for the Saints, and Miles Michaelis goes for the Cards. The Cardinals do find themselves as a underdog of anywhere between plus 118 to a plus 130, minus 136 to a minus 144. That number on Arizona. 9 is the total, under is minus 115, the over is minus 105. willing to ride with the Saints here. Would rather go money line rather than run line because, man, this has been an Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen that has not been great to say the least. But Merrill Kelly is just all sorts of dominant when he is at home. Overall, has had a really good season. 3.34 ERA, 8.8 strikeouts at 2.6 walks per 9 innings, a 3.47 fielding dependent, 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 5 starts. But you take a look at what Merrill Kelly has done for his career, has always been much more dominant at home rather than on the road. Now, it's been a little bit of a reversal this year. This year, 3.43 home ERA compared to a 3.23 road ERA, so pretty even Steven. But dating back to when he joined the Arizona Diamondbacks, 3.28 home ERA, 4.28 ERA on the road. At home, he's giving up about 1 to 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. That goes up to about 1.3 to 1.4 home runs per 9 innings when he is away from home. So, and that has been a relatively solid divide. And then on the flip side, you've got yourself a guy, Miles Mikolas, that just pitches away too much contact. And to the credit of Miles Mikolas, he's actually been able to do a nice job of keeping the ball in the yard this far this season, but you just feel like the guy is playing with a little bit too much fire. He has been giving up only about 2 walks per 9 innings, which is actually up for his standards. 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's now giving up 1.5 bombs per 9 innings because prior to the All-Star break, he had a start on the 4th of July against the Cubs where he gave up 6 home runs. Now, I sort of throw that one out because that was a hot day out there at Wrigley Field and things go absolutely harebrained there, but I mean, even if you take that out of the fold, this is still a guy that's giving up way too much just general contact, I think, is the best way of being able to put it. 4.94 ERA, 4.50 fielding dependent. He's backed up by a bullpen that's relatively solid. Jojo Romero, Ryan Elsley, who had his issues towards the beginning part of the season, throw in there some like a Phil Matone. These guys give you a sub 3.25 ERA, and the bullpen has been relatively solid. Kyle Leahy has been good as well, and for the Cardinals, it's just all about moving the line for this team. You've got a quartet of different guys between 10 and 12 home runs. Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, Alec Burleson, Lars Nootbaar. So they've been able to do an okay job there, though. Nootbaar, 332 on base, but only a 227 average. Brendan Donovan, Alec Burleson, these guys are in between about a 290 to a 300. Victor Scott has been able to give you 24 stolen bases, about a 320 on base. So I mean, he's been able to do a relatively rock-solid job there. And then when it comes to the flip side for the Arizona Diamondbacks, though this team has an absolutely brutal bullpen, they're also in the top 5 of the big leagues with regards to runs per game. And Eugenio Suarez, cheap among them, 31 home runs, hitting for about a 322 on base. Then you've got Corbin Carroll back off the injured list, 21 bombs. He's down to hitting about a 242 as he, Alec Thomas, Lourdes Gurriel, Randall Grichuk all in that neighborhood about a 242, 252. So I mean, they've got a lot of guys in the fold there, but Geraldo Perdomo is give you about a 370 or so on base. They've had Gabriel Moreno on the injured list, and he just got transferred to the 60-day IL, so that's been less than savory at the catcher spot. But that said, I do think that for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they find the way to get the job done, even with a bullpen that's been, I'd say, Shelby Miller relatively awful this year. Miller has been able to give you a sub-2 ERA, and Kyle Backus in a small sample size has not necessarily been too bad, but I mean, just go through the cavalcade of different guys that have not been providing for the team. Bryce Jarvis, Jalen Beeks, they now to send Justin Martinez to the 60-day injured list, Ryan Thompson, Juan Barrio, all these guys are providing north of 4 ERA. So, circumstance where I did set the money line of the Diamondbacks at a minus 151. Want to lay that, and I'm in on the over, so I told 9.1. 957, 958 on the card. The Milwaukee Brewers are on the road against the LA Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw is on the bump for the Dodgers. Jose Quintana is on the bump for the Brewers. Brewers who find themselves anywhere between plus 138 to plus 148 dogs, and between minus 160 to minus 170 is that number on Los Angeles. Sign is the total. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And I set the Dodgers at a minus 188. I'm going to be willing to back them actually here on the run line because the initial FanDuel opener that I'm seeing with regards to the Dodgers run line is a plus 115. I was willing to pretty much take even money or better on this one. I am just not a believer in Jose Quintana whatsoever. You take a look at the raw ERA numbers and they're actually quite solid for a good friend of Mr. Quintana. He's been posting up about a 3.22 ERA thus far this season, but you take a look a little bit more under the hood and he's allowing about 3.9 walks per 9 innings. The fielding independent is a 436 with him only getting about 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. So Clayton Kershaw, 338 ERA, more around about a 419 fielding independent. So both of these guys are relative equals there. 6.2 strikeouts and 2.7 walks per 9 innings for Clayton Kershaw. So Both of these aging guys have relatively solid ERAs that I'm not necessarily believers in. Both of these teams also in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. I do feel a little bit better about the Milwaukee Brewers bullpen right now because you've got a guy in Abner Uribe who's been really good at sort of that Swiss Army knife, do a little bit of everything, sort of a reliever. He, Aaron Ashby, Trevor McGill are all give you a sub 250 ERA, but for the Brewers, I just don't know how sustainable they're nearly 5.4 runs per game away from home is because they had 3 guys enter into Saturday with north of 7 home runs. Christian Yelich, Jackson Chourio, Rhys Hoskins. Hoskins is give you about a 340 on base, and you've got a lot of guys on this roster, by the way. They're providing anywhere between about a 338 to a 354 on base with Isaac Collins, give you about a 365 on base. Sal Frelick, William Contreras, Caleb Durbin, Bryce Terang, Hoskins, along Christian Yelich, all in that fold, and you've been able to get some relatively good production as well out of someone that I like in Sal Frelick in terms of stealing bags with 17 stolen bases, but for the LA Dodgers, this team is averaging just under 5.9 runs per game at home. That is number 1 in all of baseball. Shohei Ohtani just continues to be amazing, 32 home runs, a 380 on base, and then Andy Paz has cooled down a little bit with regards to hard contact, but he and Teoscar Hernandez 31 home runs. Freddie Freeman is giving you a 370 on base. You continue to have Will Smith get jiggy with it with a 425 on base. Ha-Seong Kim has seen some more action with the injury to Max Muncy, and he's hitting well above a 325 as well. And for the Dodgers, you do have to have a little bit of trepidation with the fact that this bullpen has been very hit or miss. Michael Kopech is back on the injury list. Alex Vesia has been your main guy to give you a sub 285 ERA. He's posting up about a 250, and then you do have the likes of a Will Klein, who I don't really trust whatsoever. Kirby Yates, Anthony Banda have been posting up north of 4 ERA, so I think that you get high scoring affairs. So my total 9.6. I like the over, and I think that the Dodgers slug their way to victory. I'm willing to trust in them on the run line. 959, 960 on the card. The Tampa Bay Rays play out the Baltimore Orioles. Trevor Rogers is on the bump for Baltimore. Ryan Pepiot is on the bump for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a favorite of anywhere between minus 118 to minus 126, and between plus 104 to plus 108 is that number on Baltimore. 9 is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even, and for Baltimore, I did set them as a plus 134 underdog, so I'm going to be willing to lay with the Tampa Bay Rays. For Ryan Pepiot, his swing and miss stuff is starting to come back to him. He was a little bit suspect with this towards the beginning part of the season, but you know what, with Ryan Pepiot, I do think that he's going to be able to go out there and give you a relatively good performance. 338 ERA, so I have to have a little bit of a fear of that 431 fielding dependent, as he has been giving up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, but overall it's been pretty steady. 3 runs or fewer allowed in 5 out of his last 6 starts. He has been able to get a combined 18 strikeouts in those last 3 starts as well, so that's a step in the right direction for him. And then on the flip side, it's just a Baltimore Orioles team that it just feels like they can't get right. You have Colton Cowser along with Jordan Westberg coming off the injury list. And for Westberg, he's been able to give you a home run every about 16 to 17 at bats. So he's been relatively solid there. But I mean, it's just a very uneven team to say the least. You don't have anyone with north of 13 home runs, but you've got like 5 different guys with at least 10 home runs. Ramon Laureano with his 350 on base has actually been very solid for this team. And then you've been able to get good production out of Ryan O'Hearn, who's been able to give you about a 380 or so with regards to his on base as well. So been liking what I've been seeing there, but also with this Baltimore Orioles team, even if you do get a good start from Trevor Rogers, who's been quite good thus far this season. For Trevor Rogers, he was miserable at the minor league level. He comes up and all of a sudden looks like the Mona Lisa Vito of pitching. He's got a 153 ERA through 6 starts. He's getting about 8.2 strikeouts at 2.5 walks per 9 innings. Has been the master of soft contact. 1 home run allowed in 35 and a third innings. I just don't know how sustainable it is. And for Trevor Rogers, when the bottom does fall out, he's not backed up by a bullpen that's really able to give you too much of anything whatsoever, as you've got a bullpen that has Keegan Aiken in there, who's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. You've been able to get a little bit of production of Sir Anthony Dominguez and Felix Bautista. Bautista has been solid as a closer, about a 241 ERA. Sir Anthony Dominguez about a 330 ERA, but then you go to the likes of Cade Stout, Andrew Kittredge, Yunier Cano, Matt Bowman when he's been out there, because I am pretty sure that they sent him down to the minors. All north of 4 ERA, and these guys that they've tried to mix and match with, just none of them have worked out like a Grant Wolfram. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this is a unit that is in the top 10 with regards to runs per game. You've got a pair of guys in Junior Caminero along with Brandon Lau, who've been able to give you 19 plus home runs this season, and then the stolen bases have been rampant. You don't get a ton of average out of Jared Calabrio, but 31 stolen bases this far this season. Chandler Simpson is hitting above 300. He's up to 26 stolen bases. Jonathan Aranda is able to give you about a 395 on base, and then Yandy Diaz has been absolutely amazing. 15 home runs, 345 on base overall for the season, but hitting north of a 325 over the last 60 days as well. Do think that the Tampa Bay Rays do go out there, get the job done. Recognize that the bullpen ERA is about league average as far this season, but the top guys have been really good for the team. The closer in Pete Fairbanks, Garrett Clevenger, Eric Orze, Manuel Rodriguez. I'll give you a sub 275 ERA. Should be able to get the job done. Did set the Rays at a minus 134. I like them on the money line, and I did set my total at 9.2 here at the 9. I'm in on the over. 961, 962 on the card. The Athletics are on the road against the Cleveland Guardians as Gavin Williams goes for Cleveland. Jeffrey Springs is on the bump for the A's. The A's are between plus 122 to a plus 131 underdogs, or between a minus 135 to a minus 145. That number on Cleveland, 8.5 is the total, as the under is anywhere between minus 110 to a minus 120. The over is between even and minus 110. And with regards to Gavin Williams and the Cleveland Guardians, I made them a minus 149 favorite. I'm going to be one to back them on the money line. Now, I will say this about Jeffrey Springs. He is much like most of the pitchers here for the Athletics. They've actually been significantly better on the road rather than at home. Nobody can pitch in Sacramento this year. So you've got Jeffrey Springs right now with a 393 ERA. He's only getting about 7 strikeouts and 3 walks per 9 innings. So has been far from impressive there. Now, I'm not saying on the road he's like some sort of a wizard of pitching, but on the road, 361 ERA. On the road, he's been giving up in that neighborhood about 1.2 to 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. At home, he's just getting bombed. 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings with a 4.27 ERA. So that has been a little bit less than tremendous. What's also less than tremendous is that the Athletics are in the bottom 3 in the big leagues with regards to their own bullpen ERA. Starting to find a few guys like Michael Kelly along with Sean Newcomb, who will be able to give you a sub 325 ERA in this bullpen, but Mason Miller's been posting up north of a 4 ERA. JT Ginn and Juice in a long roll has not been great, as Hogan Harris, Jack Perkins, so they might need to turn into a starter. Grant Holman are all posting up north of a 370 ERA, and for the Athletics, it's been a solid lineup. I'm not going to call it amazing, but you've got Tyler Soderstrom, who's giving you 18 home runs at about a 335 on base. Brent Rooker, he's up to about a 360 on base, 21 bombs. Nick Kurtz has actually hit a home run every about 12 or so at bats. He's up to a 335 on base. Maybe deal with the injuries recently to Miguel Andujar, but now he's back to the fold. He's hitting north of 285, and Shea Langoliers doesn't hit for a lot of on base, but Shea bangs for 13 home runs, so that's been solid. And Jacob Wilson hitting north of 325, that has been good too. And for the Cleveland Guardians, this has been a very, very top-heavy lineup, as have to love what you've been able to get out of Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez. Ramirez, 367 on base, 18 home runs. Steven Kwan, 345 on base, 285 average at the top of the lineup, has been good. And Carlos Santana, 325 on base. Nothing amazing, but you know what? You'll take it. But just so many guys hitting below a 220 for this team. Brian Rocchio, Kyle Manzardo, Daniel Schneemann, Lane Thomas, Bo Naylor, Will Wilson, David Fry, John Kenzie Noel, Austin Hedges. Like, man, even with Manzardo giving me 15 home runs, that's a little bit rough. But for the Guardians, even though the bullpen is way down from where it was last year they were number 1 with regards to bullpen ERA. It's still quite a bit better than that of the Athletics, as you have had Hunter Gaddis go down the toilet bowl a little bit for this team. But that said, you've got Cade Smith, Nick Enright, Emmanuel Clase. I'll give you a sub 325 ERA. Eric Zabrowski, since coming off the injury list, has been able to give you a sub 2 ERA as well. So do think that for Cleveland, you're going to be able to get just enough out of Gavin Williams in the start. As for Gavin Williams, the deception and the swing and miss stuff has not been bad. The issue that you've had with Gavin Williams has been the command this far this season, as he is giving up 5.3 walks per 9 innings, about 8.8 strikeouts per 9, a 370 ERA, but a 482 fielding dependence. So have to have a little bit of fear there, but I think that he holds it down, gets the job done here. I did set my total at an 8.1, so I'm going to be in on this total under and on the Cleveland Guardians money line. 963, 964 on the betting board. It is the Detroit Tigers, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the Walker Texas Rangers. It was looking like it was going to be Tariq Skubal versus Nathan Eovaldi. Instead, Jacob Latz gets the start for the Rangers, and Tariq Skubal is on the bump for the Tigers. Right now, your updated total at Circa, which is one of the few places that have this updated, is a 7 with the under at a minus 115, overs at minus 105. Minus 208 is that number on Detroit, plus 185 on the Walker Texas Rangers. And if you're looking to lay run half with the Tigers, that is minus 120. I'm actually going to be willing to side with the Rangers here with Jacob Latz. He's been pretty solid out of the bullpen, right around about a 3 ERA, but this is a guy with starting experience. He had 6 no-hit innings against the Orioles, and for Tariq Skubal, he has obviously been amazing this year. He's got a 180 ERA on the road, overall strikeout to Walker ratio of a 9.6, 223 ERA. Fielding dependent, that is very much in line with that. This has been a bit of a shaky Detroit Tigers bullpen, though, and for Latz, he should be able to lend a little bit of length, and that'll help out a Texas Rangers bullpen that, if you look at things since May 1st, they've actually got the best bullpen ERA in all of baseball. They are at a 2.78. Meanwhile, in this time span, the Detroit Tigers have not been so great. Detroit is 26th in the league in terms of their bullpen ERA, and at some point, both of these teams are most likely going to need to go to it. For the Tigers bullpen, Will Vest has been really the main concept for this team. He's been able to give you about a 2.30 ERA, and then you've had Brand Herter, who's able to give you multiple innings, give you about a 3.13 ERA, but all of a sudden Chase Lee has north of a 3.5 ERA. Tyler Holton has been a little bit shaky, and it has been rough for Tommy Kahnle, 4.85 ERA, man. It has been rough. Meanwhile, for the Texas Rangers, you just have guy after guy getting the job done, and Coomer Rocker was able to go north of 6 innings in the game on Saturday to be able to help out. You'll utilize Jacob Webb, and that was about it. You got the likes of Sean Armstrong, Hobie Milner, throw in there Robert Garcia, who will be able to give you a sub-3.35 ERA. And for Texas, I recognize that overall for the season, they're about 24th in the league in terms of runs per game, but I take a look at what they've been able to do ever since the beginning of the month of July, and all of a sudden, this has been a team that has been able to generate right around about 6 runs per contest. As a matter of fact, 81 runs in their first 13 games of the month, as you've had Corey Seager be able to find it once again. He, over the last 30 days, has given you north of a 425 on base. He's got 3 home runs this month. Marcus Semien and Adolis Garcia in the first 13 games of the month of July, a combined 7 home runs. You're still not getting a lot of average out of a lot of these guys. Semien is sitting at 230 overall for the month. Ezekiel Duran has been miserable for the team, but Jake Berger is all of a sudden hitting north of 275, so these guys are starting to pick it up. It is a Detroit Tigers team that is in the top 7 in the big leagues with regards to their overall run production, with Riley Green supplying 25 home runs, Spencer Torkelson north of 20 bombs as well. Both of these guys between a 330 to a 335 on base, and Torkelson 21 home runs. And then you do have the ancillary guys. We're doing a nice job, move line, getting on base. Javi Baez, Gleyber Torres, Zach McKinstry. These guys are in between about a 270 to 280. Cole Keith has been able to give you about a 335 on base, but I do think that for Jacob Latz, he does just enough for the Rangers to have some value here, and I do think that with Tariq Skubal, for even as impressive as he is, he gives up a few runs against a Rangers team that's starting to surge. So I did set my total at some point too. I like the over, and I'd like Texas at a plus 178 or higher on the money line. 965, 966 on the betting board. The Houston Astros are on the road. They're facing off against the Seattle Mariners. It is Hunter Brown who's going to be on the bump for Houston, and right now it is old to be determined who's going to be going for the Seattle Mariners. So this is a game that's presently off the board, and it's looking like Brian Wu might make this start, and if it is, it's pretty much a pickup. I set the Mariners at a minus 101, so pretty much whatever team is the underdog and plus money, I'm going to be willing to take them on the money line and set a total of 6.7. So that means that a 6.5 or less, I'm going to be in on the over. A 7 or higher, I'm in on the under. I fully recognize that Hunter Brown had a few shaky starts going into the All-Star break, but I mean, this guy has been really stinking good this far this season. For Brian Wu, he's been able to do a really good job of just being able to keep things out in front of him and not giving up a lot of walks. As for Brian Wu, he's right around about 2 walks per 9 innings, and last year the swing of his stuff was a little bit down from his rookie season. He's been able to rebound with that 275 ERA with a 340 fielding independent, 8.5 strikeouts, only 1.6 walks allowed per 9 innings. Entered into the All-Star break in great form, having allowed 4 earned runs over the course of his final 5 starts. And for Brian Wu, when he has been at home, he has really wowed with a 180 ERA, giving up 1 home run per 9 innings. For Hunter Brown, this guy's been able to do a nice job with his swing and miss stuff as well. 10.7 strikeouts to 2.7 walks per 9 innings, a 243 ERA, fielding independent is more around about a 302, and did give up a combined 10 runs in his last 2 starts going into the All-Star break against the Cleveland Guardians and the Walker Texas Rangers. But that said, for Hunter Brown, when he's been on the road, he's posting up a 243 ERA, so no drop-off there with the Houston Astros and the Seattle Mariners. Both of these teams have been relatively solid with their bullpen. Now, some of the longer guys for Seattle, like Trent Thornton and company, they could be a little bit of a roll of the dice, but Gabe Spire, Andres Munoz, Matt Brash, these guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Heck, Carlos Vargas has been able to give you some relatively solid innings as well. Edward Bazardo has been able to come along for the ride as well. So it is a Seattle Mariners team that entered in this Saturday 11th in terms of bullpen ERA, and for the Astros are 4th. The Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Josh Hader, Stephen Okert, so many guys, Bennett Sosa, are all give you a sub 325 ERA. And when it comes to this bunch in Houston. It's been a case where Jeremy Pena being on the injured list really hasn't slowed them down too much, as even with Jeremy Pena being out, you've really been able to get a lot out of Isaac Paredes. Paredes is up to north of 18 home runs this far this season. He's been able to give you about a 360-ish on base. Jose Altuve is looking like the guy that we all know and love, 17 home runs, hitting at 275. And then Yunior Diaz along Christian Walker, not doing a great job of getting on base, sub 285 on base, but you've got 12 plus home runs out of both of these guys as well. Jake Myers has been able to hit above a 300, so love what these guys are able to bring to the table. And then on the flip side, you've got yourself a bunch in the Seattle Mariners that have big dumper Cal Raleigh, give you 38 home runs. Going to be very curious to see what he does coming off of the home run derby, but JP Crawford is getting on base with a 390 on base. And then you've got a trio of guys, Randy Arozarena, Uzulio Rodriguez, and also Ore Polanco, only between about a 252 to 257, though. Arozarena, 360 on base, 18 home runs, already has a bomb in this series, and even with the now DFA'd Rowdy Tellez, you're still getting good power out of so many of these guys in the lineup. You've been able to get some nice production out of Ben Williamson, who gives you no power whatsoever, but does a nice job finding a way to be able to move lines. So, circumstance, we're at a minus 107 or less, looking at the Mariners plus 109 or higher, the Astros, and then 6.5 or less, like the over, a 7 or higher, the under, 967, 968 on the betting board. It is the San Francisco Giants, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the Toronto Blue Jays, as Robbie Ray says hit Parade to another start, and Jose Barrios goes for the Jays. Total on this game is 8. The over is between minus 110 to a minus 120. The under is anywhere between even and minus 110. And for the Giants, you're going to be finding them as a very slight underdog. You're going to be getting them between even money to a minus 110. Meanwhile, between minus 108 to a minus 115 is the number on the Blue Jays, and I'm willing to go up to a minus 120 on this Blue Jays money line, so I'm going to be willing to lay it with the Toronto Blue Jays. It has been a very interesting year for them, to say the least, and for the Blue Jays, Jose Barrios has always had very demonstrative home and road splits. That, other than this year he's actually been a little bit better when he has been on the road rather than at home, but I still default a little bit more to the career numbers, and this dates all the way back to the year 2016 with Jose Barrios, a career 3.58 ERA at home. At home, he's giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings. That shoots up to about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings on the road with a 4.52 ERA. So you can always rely upon this guy when he's in his friendly confines. And for the Blue Jays, this has been an offense that has really been able to rise up at home. Still having their issues on the road. For the Blue Jays on the road, they've been a bottom 10 offense with regards to runs per game, but at home, they're right now registering about 5.3 runs per game. Only the New York Yankees are averaging more runs per game at home, and for the Blue Jays, the man that has really been able to ignite this has been George Springer. North of a 360 on base, he's supplying the team with 16 plus home runs to be able to lead the way. For the Blue Jays, still not necessarily a team that's hitting a bunch of home runs. They're 20th in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis overall, but when they're at home, this turns into a top 8 mark. Meanwhile, on the road, they're just not hitting any home runs whatsoever. But Flagler Jr., even though he's down with his power between 12 and 13 home runs this season, he has still been able to give you about a 380 on base. You've got Edson Barger being able to pick it up. He's up to 13 home runs. He's been able to about a 260. Bo Bichette, 280 average. He's up to 12 bombs as well. And then Ernie Clement, it's a 285. Don't call his name. Alejandro Kirk is hitting above a 300. 1 through 9 are all just threats to be able to get on base. And for the Blue Jays, even though they're not super dominant in the bullpen, they have a top 10 bullpen ERA. As you've had Nick Sandlin, who's come off the injury list, Brandon Little, Braden Fisher, these guys all be able to give you a sub 250 ERA. Uriel Rodriguez, that's a long guy, has been able to give you a sub 250 as well. And then when it comes to what you're able to get on the flip side, it's been very suspect and hit or miss what you've been able to get out of the San Francisco Giants offense. As for the Giants, Rafael Devers has just been a big giant disaster for the team, barely hitting above the middle line of a 200 entering into the game on Saturday. Now, for the Giants, you've got the number 1 team with regards to bullpen ERA out there, as well as you've got so many guys like Camilo Duvall, Randy Rodriguez, Eric Miller, Tyler Rogers, who are all giving you a sub 3 ERA. Spencer Bivens has been going downward a little bit as a long guy, but overall these guys have been solid, but you're just not getting a ton out of this offense. Willie Adames, Eloy Ramos are up to 14 home runs apiece, and Adames, over the last 30 days, has actually been able to hit like 7 or 8 home runs, so he's starting to pick it up a little bit more. Mike Yastrzemski, Matt Chapman, both about a 340 on base, but for Chapman, he's struggled a little bit since coming off the injured list. Jung-Ho Lee is now hitting below a 250 without a lot of power. It's been a case where the entire catcher spot with Patrick Bailey and company has not necessarily been so great, so you do have to have your issues there. And for Robbie Ray, he's been able to do a really good job for this team, as he's getting in that neighborhood about 9.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. A 265 ERA has been quite a bit better when he has been at home rather than when he has been on the road, as on the road he's giving up a little bit north of a home run per 9 innings, but still has been able to go out there, give you right around about a 3 or so with regards to that ERA. So I do think that for the San Francisco Giants, they're going to be able to keep things out in front of them. But in the end, I do think that the Blue Jays find a way to be able to get the job done. I did set the Jays here on the money line at a minus 121. So I'm going to be willing to lay it. Made my total at 8.3. So here at the 8, I'm also in on the over. 969, 970 on the card. The LA Angels are on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies. Ranger Suarez is on the bump for the Phils. Jose Soriano goes for the Angels. Angels between plus 158 to plus 165 dogs. Minus 172 to minus 194 is that number on the Phils. And the total is 8.5. The over is minus 120 to minus 115. Under is anywhere between even and minus 105. And if you're looking at that initial run line of the Philadelphia Phillies, you're going to be finding that at a plus 112. That is my minimum buy point here. I needed at least a plus 112 to be able to dive in, and I'm going to be willing to do so. As Ranger Suarez, since coming off the injury list, has been a godsend for the Philadelphia Phillies. As for Suarez, it's not like he's doing so with a bunch of strikeouts or anything like that, but flat out, he's getting the job done, as he has given up 300 runs or fewer in each out of his last 12 starts. He had that one rough start coming off the injured list where, a lot of pitchers first start off the injured list. You're going to be struggling a little bit there. So if you take that one out over his last 12 starts, team has won 8-4 in these starts. He's allowing about a half a home run per start, and he has been able to do a really good job, posting up a 1.46 ERA. He's giving up more like 0.7 home runs per 9 innings in this time span. Again, only about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's doing a great job there. And then for the Philadelphia Phillies, it's just all about finding some bullpen pitching, as Ryan Kerkering has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've got Matt Strahm give you a little bit more. He and Tanner Banks have been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, but Joe Ross has been miserable for this team. Jordan Romano is posting up an ERA that's hovering right around about a 7. You've got a lot of guys that just have not gotten the job done. Max Laser is up to about a 3.50 ERA, so you've been able to get a little bit more there. And then when it comes to what you're able to get out of the LA Angels, this has been a bullpen that has been all sorts of awful thus far this season, a bottom 5 team in terms of their bullpen ERA as well. But for the LA Angels, you've been able to get some really good power numbers out of this team, as well as you've got Mike Trout, who's now fully healthy. He's been able to supply you with 17 home runs, but that said, he's also hitting only about a 241 with regards to his average, and that's what you get for the Angels. Top 5 team with regards to home runs on a per at-bat basis. Bottom 6 team with regards to on-base percentage. Taylor Ward, 22 home runs, 299 on base. Zach Neto, along with Nolan Schunel, have done a great job of getting on base. Neto's hitting at 275, along with Schunel, and Neto's up to 15 home runs. Joe Adell setting fire to the rain, 20 home runs, about a 315 on base. You'll take that. But Logan Hoppe, 17 home runs. You're happy about that. Not so happy about the 270 on base. Jorge Soler sitting at 212, so you've had your issues there. And then, again, that bullpen, it has not been great for the LA Angels, to say the least. As your main guy has been Hunter Strickland, who's now on the injury list. He was flying the team with a sub-335 ERA. Kenley Jansen's down to about a 320 or so ERA as well, but then you got so many guys that are posting up north of a 4, like Jose Fermin, Reed Detmers, who's been better recently, Connor Brogdon, Hector Neris, Ryan Zefrion. These guys have been all sorts of miserable. And for Jose Soriano, I do think that we're going to see a little bit of regression in terms of his just massive home and road splits. As for Jose Soriano, you take a look at what he's been able to do at home this far this season. 5.65 ERA. He has been getting quite a few strikeouts at home, north of 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. On the road, he's getting fewer than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has yet to allow a home run in 62 innings on the road with a 2.47 ERA. That is just not sustainable right there. I do think that he gets had a little bit more by this Philadelphia Phillies lineup that has Kyle Schwarber, who's giving you Schwar bombs. He's been hitting for north of 370 on base. He's up to 30-plus home runs. Really, nobody else on the roster has been able to give you above 12 home runs this season, as Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner down for what? Throw in there Max Kepler. These guys all have between 10 and 12 home runs this season, and Kepler's hitting for no average whatsoever. Pretty much everyone else has been able to hit for north of a 260 among those guys, and then Alec Bowman's been able to hit about a 280 as well. So, interesting circumstance. I do think that the Phillies do a nice job. I'll be able to get to Soriano, and I think that Suarez continues to dominate. So, did some I tell it at 8.2. I like the under, and I do like the Phillies on the run line. 971, 972 on the card. The Atlanta Braves are playing us the New York Yankees, as Marcus Stroman is on the bump for the Yanks, and Grant Holmes goes for the Atlanta Braves. Braves are between minus 128 to minus 137 favorites, and between plus 112 to a plus 118 is that number on the Yankees. 9.5 is the total. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And with with the Yankees. I did set them as a minus 113 favorite. I do like them on the money line. Now, for Marcus Stroman, it's been a pretty miserable year. 6.66 ERA. But if you take a look at what he's done in his 3 starts since coming off the injured list, 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in every one of them. So it appears as though he's coming along for the ride a bit. And since joining the New York Yankees, his ERA is about 2 full points lower when he's on the road rather than at home. Now for Stroman, 5.5 strikeouts and 4.4 walks per 9 innings. But Grant Holmes is giving up about 1.3 home runs and 4.3 walks per 9 innings as well. So he's been giving up quite a few of the free passes. For Grant Holmes, he's been able to give you a relatively respectable ERA, but I feel the independence up to a 4.24. I will say for the Atlanta Braves, their bullpen is quite a bit better right now than the New York Yankees. As for the Yankees, one of their best relievers was actually Yuri De Los Santos, who's currently on the injured list. Ian Hamilton has been a bit rough, and since coming off the injured list, Luke Weaver has opted himself, but he and Tim Hill are both giving an ERA of a 3 or better. You've had Scott Effross be able to give you a few solid innings, but what the New York Yankees lack with regards to that bullpen ERA, they make up for in power. Number 1 team in the big leagues in terms of the American League, I should say, with regards to runs per game, as you've got Cody Bellinger, Ben Rice, Austin Wells, Trent Grisham, all between 14 and 16 home runs, with Bellinger hitting about a 280, and then you've been able to get 17 bombs as Chez Chisholm was up to north of a 340 on base. Aaron Judge continues to be Aaron Judge, 460 on base, 35 home runs. Paul Goldschmidt has not been getting on base really over the last month or so. His on base percentage sliding has been a big reason why the Yankees have been a bit inconsistent. But for the Atlanta Braves, this team is right now outside the top 22 in terms of runs per game, despite the fact that you've got Ronald Acuna Jr. back and performing at a high level. 12 home runs in his first 46 games, north of a 440 on base. No complaints there, but just have so many guys that aren't getting on base, that aren't providing you with any power whatsoever, as you've had Alex Verdugo at 0 home runs, and he's giving you less than a 300 on base. Nick Allen, 0 home runs. He's hitting at 230. Ozzie Albies is hitting for a 221 with 8 home runs, and then Michael Harris, 234 on base with 6 home runs. You just see more there. You've had Marcell Ozuna give you about a 365 on base with 13 home runs. Matt Olson, 17 home runs, 360 on base. Austin Riley up to 14 bombs as well. And then for the Braves, do have to like the fact that you've got Desbel Hernandez, Dylan Lee, and Aaron Bummer, who have all been able to do a solid job in this bullpen. Now, Bummer is up to about a 4.50 ERA. Other 2 guys are at a sub-3 ERA, and Pierce Johnson down to a sub-3 ERA as well. The Dodd-father, Dylan Dodd, has been able to give you a few okay innings as well. Raisel Iglesias has been miserable. He's looking a little bit better right now, but still giving you north of 4 ERA. But that said, I do think that the Yankees should be a scotch a bit of a favorite in this spot. I did set them at a minus 113, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Yankees on the money line, and made my total 9.2 here at the 9.5. I like the under. 973, 974 on the card. The Chicago White Sox are on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Andrew Heaney goes for the Buccos, and Aaron Savali goes for the White Sox. White Sox are between plus 123 to a plus 132 underdog, and they're between minus 140 to a minus 155 is that number on the Pittsburgh Pirates. In half is the total. The over is between minus 115 to a minus 120. The under is anywhere between even and minus 105. And with the Pittsburgh Pirates, I did set them on the money line at a minus 141. So that minus 140 is the absolute max I'm willing to lay, but I'm going to be willing to lay. Now for Aaron Savali, he's actually given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 7 out of his last 10 starts. But he's also given up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. He's gotten rid of a 5 ERA, less than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has been all sorts of suspect. And Andrew Heaney, after a really good start to the season, boy, has things absolutely plummeted for him. For Andrew Heaney, up to about a 4.59 ERA, he has allowed about 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff at an all-time low, 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. But also with Andrew Heaney, he has been a whole heck of a lot better at home rather than on the road. 2.53 home ERA, 6.45 ERA on the road. And on the road, he's giving up well above 2 home runs per 9 innings. At home, more like 1 home run per 9 innings. And this is a Pirates bullpen that is quite a bit better than that of the Chicago White Sox. For the White Sox, they are getting Mike Vasil back in that bullpen ever since Jonathan Cannon came off the injured list. So that helps them out quite a bit. But you still have a lot of guys that are posting up an ERA that is above a 4, as you've been having that the likes of Jordan Leisure, Grant Taylor, Brandon Iser, when he's been out there, Cam Bouger. So these guys have been an issue, though Dan Altavilla has been able to give you a sub-225 ERA, but absolutely no power whatsoever out of this White Sox lineup. Currently 28th in the big leagues in terms of runs per game away from home. Trio of guys, Miguel Vargas, Luis Robert, and Andrew Benintendi, all 10 and 11 home runs this season. But in the case of a pair of guys in Vargas along with Luis Robert, they're just a part of a big giant mismatch of guys going below 220 for this White Sox team. Throw in there Michael A. Taylor, Josh Rojas, Joshua Palacios, Vinny Capra. Just have a lot of guys that are not performing. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, this team is at the bottom of the National League in terms of runs per game, as you've only got 3 guys on the roster that have been able to give you above 4 home runs this season. Oneil Cruz is one of them. He's been able to give you 16 home runs. Brian Reynolds is up to 10. And then Andrew McCutchen, 8 home runs. And with Oneil Cruz, he's a part of a big giant mix of guys that are hitting below a 220, as you've had that from he, Jared Trollo, Henry Davis. So it's been rough for the Pirates, to say the least. And I mean, when it comes to the Pirates, I think their biggest saving grace is this bullpen, as David Benner has been able to pick it up. He, along with Caleb Ferguson, Dennis Santana, have all been able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA, so I think that these guys are going to be able to come in, do a relatively solid job, and with the Chicago White Sox just not having as much in that bullpen, I do think that the Pirates do find a way in a low-scoring slog, as the White Sox, 28th in the league in terms of runs per game away from home. Pirates, they're in the bottom 3 with regards to runs per game at home. I think that it's going to be another, shall we say, rough day for the offenses. Semi-total at an 8.2. I like the under, and I'm going to be willing to ride with Pirates on the money line up to a minus 140. 975, 976 on the card. The Kansas City Royals are on the road against the Miami Marlins, as Jansen Junk goes for Miami. Chris with K. Bubich is on the bump for the Royals. Royals are between minus 120 to minus 135 favorites, and between plus 104 to a plus 115. That number on Miami 8 is the total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. I set the Royals at a minus 123, so seeing that minus 120 out there, I'm going to be willing to lay it. With Jansen Junk, I do think that there's going to be a skoja bit of regression with him, as for Jansen Junk, the way that he has not allowed any walks whatsoever is absolutely remarkable. 2.68 ERA, 2.13 fielding independent. He is allowing 0.2 home runs and 0.7 walks per 9 innings. In his 50 and a third innings, he has allowed 1 home run and 4 walks. Not necessarily getting a lot of whiffs. He's getting only about 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has also given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. So has been rather impressive with that regard. Chris with K. Bubich, meanwhile, he's getting a few more swings and misses, and for old Bubich, he's been able to do a really good job of setting a Bubich trap for the opponents, as he's providing a 274 fielding independent, 9.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. He is giving up about 2.8 walks per 9, and it's been a little bit more, shall we say, tedious with him. He's given up at least 3 runs in 4 of his last 5 starts, though some of them have been unearned runs. And for the Royals, even though this team is right there at the bottom in terms of runs per game overall, they've been able to do a little bit of better job of pumping out the runs on the road. At home, they're averaging right around about 3 to 3.1 runs per game. Away from home, this is closer to about 3.8 runs per contest, as you've got a trio of guys who will be able to give you at least 14 home runs. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino. With Pasquantino, about a 330 on base, and Bobby Witt Jr., he and Miguel Garcia both hitting above a 285. Freddie Fermin, when he's gotten at bats, has been able to give you about a 325 on base. This team doesn't really draw a lot of walks, so like you've got Drew Waters, Kyle Isbell, Jonathan India, hitting between about a 243 to a 245, but the only one that's hitting for above a 290 on base, that'd be Jonathan India, so that's been an issue. Mark Hanna has not been what they were expecting. The young guys like John Rave, Jack Caglione, Nick Lofton, they're all hitting for less than a 290 on base, all hitting for less than a 210 with regards to their batting average. Rave was able to have a multi-home run game earlier in this series, so shout out to him, but the bread and butter of this team for the Royals is the bullpen, even though Carlos Aceves blew that game on Friday. You've got he and Luke Searchage both providing a sub-3 ERA. Jonathan Bolin, John Schreiber have been pretty solid in this bullpen, as well as Steven Cruz, who's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA for the Miami Marlins. Overall for the season, they're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA, but you've been able to get a lot more production. Some of these longer guys, Cade Gibson, Lake Picara, have been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Ronnie Enriquez, Anthony Bender have been your constants, give you a sub-270 ERA as well. And for the Miami Marlins, not a lot of power out of this team. You've got Kyle Stowers, who's up to 21 home runs, 376 on base. Augustin Ramirez and Otto Lopez are the only other 2 guys on the roster with above 8 home runs. Lopez, about a 250 with 11 bombs. Augustin Ramirez, a 240 with about his 14 home runs. And then Liam Hicks, about a 370 on base. You like to see that. Xavier Edwards at the top of the lineup, 291 average, finally got his first home run of the season, so shout out there. But I do think that in the end, Chris with K. Bubich just going to be able to give you a little bit more than Jansen Junk, and I do think that Junk doing for a bit of regression. Did semi-total at some point in. I think that both of these offenses struggle once again. I like the under, and I do like the money line here of the Kansas City Royals. 977, 978 on the betting board is currently off the board between the Red Sox and the Chicago Cubs. That's because it was not announced until late on Saturday that it's going to be Kate Horton getting the start for the Cubs, and Garrett Crochet is going to be on the bump For the Red Sox, not seeing any initial openers out there, but I've got my handicap. I set the Red Sox at a minus 146, so want to go up to a minus 145 there, plus 147 or higher. Looking at the Cubs, and then wind is going to be blowing in, most likely about 8, perhaps even as high as 10 miles an hour, so set a low total of a 7.1. 7 or less, looking at the over 7.5 or higher. The under, Garrett Crochet, has been so dominant this year. He's getting north of 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's doing a great job making sure that he's keeping the walks down as well, so that allows him to go deep into games. 2.23 ERA, feeling dependent more in that neighborhood about a 2.40 as he's only given up 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. 2 runs or fewer allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts, and this guy's been able to do it both at home and on the road when he's been on the road this year. As a matter of fact, goes down to a 2.13 ERA with a half home run allowed per 9 innings. And for Cade Orton, he's been able to do a nice job in terms of command. He's only giving out about 2.8, 2.9 walks per 9 innings. He's given up about 1 home run per 9, so I mean, he's been solid there. He has given up now 3+ runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts, which is a concern. 4.39 fielding dependent, 4.45 ERA, but both of these pitchers are also backed up by great bullpens. Both teams have a top 8 bullpen in terms of ERA. For the Cubs, all these guys just seemingly have come out of nowhere. You've got likes of Daniel Palencia, Chris Flexen, who might be utilized as a starter a little bit more moving forward, as well as Drew Pomerantz, Ryan Brazier. All these guys have been able to give you a sub-2.25 ERA thus far this season. Caleb Thielbar as well. You're having Brad Keller having some difficulties, but this is a Cubs lineup that has been one of the best in all of baseball. As a matter of fact, the best in terms of runs per game. Pico Armstrong, Sei Suzuki, a combined 51 home runs, both hitting at 265 apiece, and then just so many guys finding way on base. Michael Busch, Carson Kelly, Kyle Tucker, Alisa 374 on base, all give you a double-figure amount of homers, with Busch up to 19 home runs, Tucker up to 17 home runs, Kelly about a home run every, we're going to call it about 16 or so at bats. Ian Happ has been a little bit rough for this team, but past that, pretty much everyone's been very strong in this lineup. And for the Red Sox, they've done a nice job of being able to find their bearings without having Rafael Devers in the fold, as they've got now Trevor Story along Cedon Rafaela and Weiler Abreu, 14+ home runs. Abreu leading the way with 18 bombs, 325 on base, and then Story and Rafaela combined 29 home runs, with Story just a 295 on base, but it's hitting above 250. And then you've had Roman Anthony come on strong. He's give you 375 on base. Not a lot of power thus far, but I mean, just the fact that he's getting on the way that he is big for this team. You've been able to get towards the bottom of the fold more of these mix and match guys going as well. Rob Revsider, Abraham Toro have both been hitting north of a 265, and then north of a 300 average for Rami Gonzalez. He has been a very nice find as well. So I do think that in the end, with the Red Sox having a really good closer in Aroldis Chapman, that's able to give you a sub 125 ERA. You've got a few other guys that have been nice mix and match guys. I'll give you a sub 350 ERA, and the likes of Justin Wilson, Garrett Woodlock, who's a multi-inning guy, Brendan Bernardino, Greg Weisert, that the Red Sox should be a sizable favorite. One to lay up to minus 145 on the Sox, plus 147 or higher. Looking at the Cubs, and then 7 or less, like the over 7.5 or higher, the under. We wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. It is the Minnesota Twins on the road against the Colorado Rockies. Joe Ryan goes for the Twins, and Adaman Marquez goes for Colorado, minus 225 to a minus 240. That number on Minnesota between plus 190 to plus 205 is that number on Colorado. 11 is the total. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And if you're looking to lay a run half with the Minnesota Twins, right now that initial FanDuel opener is minus 140. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 160. Now, a little bit of caution with Joe Ryan. Throughout his career, he's actually been a little bit worse when he has been away from home rather than at home. For Mr. Joe Ryan, throughout his career, he's posted up a 3.82 ERA on the road with darn near 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Overall, this year, he's actually been very good on the road. And overall this year, 2.72 ERA, less than 2.5 walks per 9 innings, 10 punch-outs per 9. He has been dominant. And Germán Marquez, he has been giving up just a lot of contact in general, only getting 5 strikeouts per 9 innings at home, 5.57 ERA with 11.5 hits allowed per 9 innings, going against a Minnesota Twins team that has been pedestrian with regards to their offense. It's not been bad. It's not been amazing. They've been right around about league average all season long in terms of being able to pump out offense. Byron Buxton has been the catalyst for the team. 22 home runs, 355 on base. And then you've got a lot of guys hitting in that neighborhood about a 250 or so. Ty France, Trevor Larnach are both there, with Larnach being able to give you 13 home runs. Matt Wallner has completely fallen off as he and Cody Clemens both hitting below a 225, but both have a double-figure amount of homers. You've got side, Carlos Correa up that average of about a 262, but not a lot of power out of him. And for the Twins, this has been a bottom 16 in terms of their bullpen ERA since June 1st. It has really been a toilet bowl effort from these long guys like Cole Sands has been really bad. Justin Topa, Griffin Jacks, all providing north of a 370 ERA, but that said, the top guys have been very good. Louis Varland, Danny Kalum, Yohan Duran, they've been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. Brock and Roll Stewart has been pretty solid when he's been out there as well. Has dealt with a little bit of an injury, and for the Colorado Rockies, second worst bullpen in terms of ERA since June 1st, as well as you've had a lot of guys that were really solid towards the beginning part of the season start to really slip up, as Zach Ognos, Seth Halverson are both supplying north of 5 ERA. Scott Alexander has been a big giant roll of the dice. You've got Victor Vodnik, though, along with Jaden Nill, Jimmy Erget. All guys give you a sub 350 ERA, and Juan Makina has not been terrible either. Mickey Moniak at home has been able to give you 8 home runs, hitting north of 275. Hunter Goodman, among his 15 home runs, 12 of them have actually come on the road this season, and then you've got guys that are just not getting on base. Kyle Farmer, Brenton Doyle, Michael Toglia hitting at 220 or lower. Their Tyler Freeman has been hitting above 300. Do think that you get plenty of offense in this game. I did set my total as a result at 11.7. I like the over and the Twins run line. That'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm coming at you guys every single day on this podcast, which means I'll be back with you once again tomorrow, every single day during the season. Not during the off season, but during the season, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.